All right. I would like to say just a couple of quick things about the film that you just saw, because there are a few points I wanted to make that I didn't want to make before you saw the movie, because I don't like to give away plot, spoil stuff like that. But I've heard people who had not seen it before commenting about what a really fantastic story it is. And it's interesting because Buzz Bizzarides, it's a rare example of a film made in Hollywood where they actually let the novelist write the screenplay. But at a certain point, Buzz ran into some problems with, of course, the standing production code of the time. So his screenplay ends very differently than the novel ends. And for some interesting reason, the movie is called Thieves Highway, where the novel is called Thieves Market. And I don't really know why they made that change, other than the highway sounds a little more exciting than the market, I guess. But very interesting, you notice that the scene in Rika's crib there where Richard Conte takes his shirt off and they play tic-tac-toe on his chest and all that. That was like amazingly hot stuff for 1949, you know? And to me, it's a fabulous example of how filmmakers were able to get around the constraints of the production code. Because it was really a big deal that they kept in as much as they did in this film about Rika and the fact that she was a prostitute and how, you know, I mean, it's amazing. They let Lee J. Cobb say, you know, that trick who picked you up, you know, and it's like, wow, they actually got that in the movie. That was amazing. But of course, you notice that Zanuck had to give back a lot of stuff to the production code in order to keep this. So you do have that absurd shot at the end of the film where the cop says, next time remember to call the police first, you know, that's our job. And it's like, oh my God. How did they keep a straight face on the set when that guy was delivering that line? It was just atrocious. And Buzz's book actually, I think Buzz kind of had a fixation on Hemingway at a certain point because Thieves Market really reads very much like a Hemingway-style book, down to an almost experimental ending where the novel ends when Nick jumps in the truck and is going after Figlia. And there's a beautifully written paragraph about him grinding the gears and that now he was all about vengeance and all this stuff. And it was kind of Buzz saying that, you know, Nick's lost now because he's given in to his temper and his violence and everything. And now he's just like all the others, you know, and he heads off on the road to get revenge. And Buzz steadfastly withholds, you know, the catharsis that you have in the film where he gets to beat up Mike Figlia. You don't get that in the novel. The one thing that Buzz was totally wrong about in making, when this film was made, was he did not want Valentina Corteza in the role of Rika. He said, it's only because Dassin was banging her. Buzz was that way. He was kind of crude that way. But he wanted Shelley Winters in that part. And it's like, but Buzz, you're missing something, I think, about the immigrant experience in the United States, because nobody is going to mistake Shelley Winters for an immigrant to the United States. So I think that was where he was a little off. The other thing I just wanted to point out about this movie, are there any Star Trek fans in the audience? There's a connection between Star Trek and Thieves Highway, if you can believe it. The guy who played Pete, the trucker that was dogging Ed through the whole movie, that's Jack Oakey and his partner Pete. Jack Oakey played Slob, and Pete was played by a guy named Joseph Pevney, who was a character actor in the 40s, did a lot of noir, and then became a very successful director in Hollywood in the 1950s, and is the man who directed the very first episode of Star Trek. Wow. So that was Joe Pevney, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so now for The House on Telegraph Hill, I know it's a Robert Wise film. Everybody knows Robert Wise is the guy who won Oscars for The Sound of Music and West Side Story. What in the world could this guy possibly have to do with film noir? Well, he did edit a little film called Citizen Kane, which is somewhat influential in the development of film noir. And he did make films for one of the most influential producers in the 1940s, Val Lewton at RKO, who made a series of fantastic low-budget horror films, most of them directed by either Jacques Tourneur or Robert Wise. And if you've seen Vincent Minnelli's film The Bad and the Beautiful, the character that Kirk Douglas plays in that film is modeled on Val Lewton. And that whole storyline in that film is about Val Lewton's technique making these films, which was very influential on the look and feel of film noir. And Wise really has made some of the best and meanest film noir movies ever. Born to Kill in 1947 with Lawrence Tierney and Claire Trevor, and perhaps the best boxing movie ever made, The Setup with Robert Ryan in 1949. Those are absolutely fantastic films. The film you're about to see is a really interesting film. It's not a great film. I'm not going to sell it as a great film because the screenplay is one of those, oh yeah, I think I've seen this story somewhere before. But again, it's fascinating to me because of the way they work Valentina Corteza into this plot. And again, I mean, you'll see, she's playing, you know, a refugee who comes to the United States and finds a fate not worse than being in a concentration camp, but she can't escape her fate when she comes to the United States. So it's a very, very interesting film. Again, shot on location in San Francisco, 20th Century Fox. And if you can't get enough of it, get the DVD, because I do that entire audio commentary about this film, and I'm not going to do it right now. So enjoy The House on Telegraph Hill, and 3 cheers for my crush, Valentina Corteza. Okay?